Thank you so much, 5051. That's incredible. We really appreciate the endorsement. Next, I would like to introduce somebody that's very close to Bo, but is also in her own right extremely impressive. She is a researcher for the University of Oregon. She has researched many things. She is actually currently researching molecular changes and heat and the exercise adaptations. So she is incredible. Her future is always with Bo because she is married to him. So she's stuck. Sorry, Karen. So Karen, would you come up and speak about your lovely husband?
Thank you, Joy. And thank you all for coming out tonight. It's great to see so many of you here. As she mentioned, I'm a researcher, a scientist at the University of Oregon. And so I spend my days with pipettes and chemicals and growing cells in flasks, but not so much speaking in front of a large crowd of people, so cut me some slack. Yeah, this is by choice that I'm up here. And there's got to be a really damn good reason for me to be standing up here in front of you all. How about economic injustice, climate catastrophes, genocide in Gaza, and an administration that is actively undermining everything that we value? So now is not the time to be timid, even though that's my inclination. Not the time to be complacent or dialing it in. Oregon deserves a representative who's got enough courage and compunction and compassion to speak out and to fight. And it just so happens I know someone who fits the bill. He's been an active member of this community for over 20 years. He's volunteered for KLCC, hosting various radio shows about jazz and food. He's been a board member for Food for Lane County for 10 years because he knows how important it is for people to be able to eat. He's been a small business owner for 10 years, and he's been my husband for 12 years. A lot of you know him as Boris, but I'd like to introduce you to Bo for Oregon.
Thank you, Jean-Baptiste. Oh, DJ Joe. Thank you all for coming out here so much. And what lovely introductions. I hope I can live up to this. So I didn't write a speech because, quite frankly, I'm getting kind of tired of politicians' speeches. They tend to always promise you the moon and then they don't do a whole lot. So I'm just going to talk to you as a person, as me. And then I hope to hear from you a little bit. So, who am I? Well, Karen said it a little bit. I'm a local activist. I'm a local employer, and small-time philanthropist. We do what we can. How am I qualified to run for office? Well, this is a good question. Because what makes you qualified for this office, and I love this about this country, which is my adopted country, I'll get into that later, in that there are no qualifications other than that you are a citizen and you are of a certain age. I believe for this race it's 25, and I'm 26, what can I say? So yes, I qualify for this. But why am I running? Well, I have this character trait where I cannot sit idly by while stuff is happening that is obviously bad for everybody and something that I think I have some chance, some power to do something about. And that has always been my driving thing. It's been the thing through so many ventures of mine over the years, like when the war in Ukraine started, I told people, well, don't just change your social media platform picture to Ukraine picture, you need to do something. And then a friend of mine came to me and said, you want to do something? I'm going to hook you up with people in Ukraine and you can do something. And we did something because we raised over $10,000 right for the front line, not for the fighters. What we are doing right now is very important, but, in terms of why I'm running, I also have a family history, so I'm an immigrant. As I said, I came here in the very early 90s. I've been a citizen for exactly 20 years this year. This was in part because George W. Bush was president, and I was always a political muckraker, and I thought, let's make it harder for him or his people to deport me. So I became a citizen, and I'm very glad that I did, because, man, we had George W. We didn't think what was possibly coming, and it came. But yeah, so my family is in Germany, and I was born and raised there. Germany has a terrible, obviously, history. We are guilty of some of the worst crimes against humanity as people there have been in World War II, with, concentration camps, killing millions of Jews, homosexuals, political dissidents, anybody back then. And this is something that cannot be forgiven for a very, very long time. And ever since I was a kid, I wondered, well, what would I have done? Because my dad was born in 28, my mom was born in 41. My mom was a tiny child, she barely remembers anything from the war. My dad was drafted into the German army at barely 16 when the life expectancy was 2 weeks for people. The vast majority of his classmates and friends were killed within the first month. He managed to survive, and he didn't want to talk about the war for decades, and I understand that because that's a lot of trauma. But when he got older, he opened up, so we spent many hours, and I'm very glad he got to spend time with our son talking about this for hours too, about what it was like. And I said, Dad, why didn't you do more? Why couldn't people do more? Because because he was a kid, it was too late for him. By that time it had progressed to, if you dissent, it's an instant bullet to the head. There is no dissent anymore. We are at the stage that's getting pretty close to that stage. So never in my life did I think that me, of all people, that I would find myself facing fascism in the United States of America, the country that liberated my country of birth from fascism. Let that sink in for a second. It's an imperative for you. If you ask yourself all your life, what would you have done? And you obviously think, well, I would have done more. Well, what are you doing? So I'm doing the little that I can, and one of the things in this country's constitution is that it allows people like me, who are naturalized citizens, to run and make a difference. Thank you. So this is why I'm running. Why am I running as a Democrat? Free Gaza, yes, we're getting to that. Don't worry. Why am I running as a Democrat? I've been a longtime member of the Green Party. I'm running as a Democrat, which I love very dearly. Justin Phillip is here. We'll talk about more about that too. I decided, for me personally, in my opinion, this is the one way to stop them. And let's face it, 2026, if there are free and fair elections, which is an optimistic thing to believe, but if there are, it is the most pivotal moment in American political history in my lifetime. Because one of two things can happen, and nothing that happens in the Republican Party makes any difference. The only thing that matters is what happens in the Democratic Party. So there are two choices. Number one, a whole bunch of people, like the Val Hoyles, the Chuck Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi, retired as she might be now, whatnot, get kicked to the curb and get replaced by rabble-rousers and people who are for the people and not for the corporations like me. Because if that doesn't happen, then we might as well kiss this longest existing democracy goodbye, because then it'll be Trumpistan. And that is a sad truth. But those are the only two outcomes here. So before I talk about my platform, which I do want to outline a little bit, we have to address the 800-pound gorilla in the room, or probably more like 125-pound gorilla, and that is Val Hoyle. And why am I running against her? And I get some people who would, who are very, very nice people, who said, well, but what's wrong? I thought she's good. Well, I believe that we were all sold a bill of goods in 2002. And that is that we, as a community and as a voting district, have become lazy because we had Pete DeFazio. And Pete was great. He's not perfect, but Pete was an excellent politician. He knew how to get stuff done. He actually was what I would consider a progressive. And Pete stayed true to his word. Pete was okay with everybody. So Pete retired. And keep in mind, especially for those younger of you, Pete spent so much time serving the American people. He got elected into his office in the House when I was in high school, and I am maybe not 26. So Pete was there, and Pete said, well, I'm retiring, very well deserved. And well, I'm endorsing Val Hoyle, and that's the Democratic Party candidate. And I said, okay, well, and like so many people, I just went like, well, good enough for Pete, good enough for me. So I just voted for her. I didn't even check into who she is. And then you listen to speeches from her, and they sound, great. Hey, yeah, these are good things. Okay, keep going. And then you examine her voting record, and it is terrible. The voting record has nothing to do with her speeches, because Val Hoyle, which he doesn't want you to know, is actually one of the most conservative members in the Democratic side of the House. There is something called the CPVI, the Cook Partisan Voting Index, which most politicians and political polling agencies go by. And that tracks not what you say, but how you vote. And how you vote aligned to either party, and it goes from R plus 40, as Republican as you get, to D plus 40, as Democrat as you can get, or 0 as you're neither, okay? Most actual progressives, people that I would consider progressives, not half of the people in the House who joined the Progressive Caucus, which is complete BS. Most actual progressives, we're talking AOCs or whatnot of the world, are somewhere between D plus 25 and D plus 40, with a lot of them averaging out about D plus 30. Val Hoyle is D plus 6. That makes her one of the most conservatives in there. Just for reference, there are 2 Republicans in the House that are D plus 4, that are just about equal with her. So Val, I'm sure, is a fine person. You won't hear any personal attacks from me on her. But she's no progressive by any means, okay? And where does her money come from? Well, that's another good question. Where does the money come from that maybe shouldn't be coming from there? Why is she taking so much money from all these huge corporate PACs? And there are some disputes right now as to what the percentage is, and we're in the prospect of reviewing it. Some of them, I believe Justin quoted a statistic that goes up to 91% or so, but of her money comes from corporate and political PACs. But I know who does give her money, which is APAC, which is an organization that is designed to foster the Zionist state and to further the genocide in Gaza that's going on. Okay, she also gets some money from sources that you're just like, why would you give her money? Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, like defense contract. They have no business in Oregon. Why are you taking money from them? So, yeah. So she could be an okay politician in very normal times. These are not normal times, though. This is like, she's a bureaucrat, she checks her boxes, and let's all admit it. I'm not sure why she won't say anything public on the record. APAC is why you couldn't get her to say the word genocide. It was so painful to watch her last town hall. But yeah, she just couldn't say it because she takes too much money from those other interests. But these are not normal times, and we need somebody who's not a vanilla yes woman, but somebody who's a ruckus. What we need in this 2026 election is 50 more AOCs, 50 more Ilhan Omars, 50 more Bows, 50 more, you name it. That is what we need. We need 20 more Bernie Sanders in Congress. Those are my peeps, and if you elect me, I can tell you those are the peeps that I am going to for mentorship and to consult with. Not Chuck Schumer, not Hakeem Jeffries, but AOC and Bernie and Ilhan and those crowds. Okay, so I said a little bit about, in terms of qualifications. So what qualifications? This is one of the things that the Democratic base, by the way, I am the most hated person by far in the Democratic Party of Lane County. I guarantee you that. I get some hate mails, although most of them are very. One of them was funny. One hate mail that I got, how dare you run for Congress? You're not even a lawyer. I'm like, really? I didn't know that was a requirement last time I checked. Actually, you could be on the Supreme Court and not be a lawyer. But, okay, that's funny. But yeah, but I am not new to politics. I was very proud to serve on the board of the late Senator Paul Wellstone's Progressive Action Committee. Yeah, Paul was a wonderful human being, and we kept it going, and it is still going to this day. 23 years after he passed away, so that was awesome. I was on the board of the Green Party of Minnesota, and shout out to the Greens over here. And yeah, as Karen mentioned, I've worked a lot in local interest to help affect change, like almost 10 years on the board of Food for Lake County, those kind of things. AOC was a server, and she is amazing. Like Astoria, not Oregon, Astoria, Queens can have AOC. Why does Eugene end up with Val Hoyle? Really? No, we should have somebody more like that. So, let's start with one thing here before we get into some platform points, and that is, words are very important. Words matter. And it is very important to what I call a spade a spade. And this is something you can never get politicians to do. Like the ultra painful thing in Val Hoyle's last town hall, where she didn't get to say much because all she did was get heckled by people, which was good, because she takes too much special interest money to say anything people actually want to hear. So let's talk about Gaza. So what's happening in Gaza? As you can tell, maybe from the fact that my old friend David Robish was singing here, I'm not a huge fan of what's going on there. What is happening there is very clear and simple. It's Gaza, in Gaza, and that is genocide. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, are killing innocent men, women, and children, and it is genocide. Saying that does not make you an anti-Semite. I am not an anti-Semite in any way, form, or shape, but that doesn't change what it is. It's genocide. And our country, the United States, with your taxpayer money, is funding this. Every bomb that kills 30 more children waiting in a line for food or bullets that get shot at them, those are almost certainly paid for by you. And we send them over there. It needs to stop. And to have a representative in our Congress who cannot say that this is happening, I'm sorry, this is like a breaking point for me. You know, she may win this primary. We don't know. I hope I win, certainly. But if she does, this is a make or break thing for me. If she can't get herself to say what's happening there, I cannot vote for her. And if that happens, and she's running and you can't vote for her, I would strongly encourage you to vote for my friend Justin Phillip over there from the Green Party, who has a very similar platform to mine. And Justin is a good dude. Okay. So every single person who is in the Republican Party right now, including Susan Collins and the other ones that the left wants to sway, which will never happen, all of these people are 100% on board with genocide, with taking rights away from LGBTQ people, from immigrants, deporting immigrants, building concentration camps around the world where we send people. That's another bad memory for somebody who grew up where I did. They are all guilty. So please don't call them your esteemed colleague on the other aisle, because they are not. They're enemies of the American people, and we need to defeat them. So, lastly here, let's go. The last few things that politicians won't say is this is something that gets them all. It's 3 words. Those 3 words are actually the answer and the solution to just about every problem in this country. Are you ready? Oh, somebody else had it. Yes, you really need to tax the rich. And they won't say it in the Democratic Party. Whoa, qualify the rich, you know. No, we need to tax them. I know that's your donor class. I really, pardon my French, don't give a shit that that's your donor class. Who cares? We need to tax them. Oh, next statement also nobody's gonna like. Billionaires should not exist. They just need to, the existence of a billionaire is a huge flaw in society. There should be no billionaire. How can you be a billionaire? By definition, you have to be a sociopath to be a billionaire, to watch millions and millions and millions of people literally starve to death while you have all this theoretical money that could solve all of this. And let's keep one thing in mind here when we talk about theoretical money. None of this money these people have is real. This is all just numbers in bank accounts, meaning it doesn't affect them. You can use, with the most extravagant lifestyle possible, buying the ultimate luxury yacht, 18 houses, whatever, you can use up maybe 1 billion, 12 luxury jets, whatever. But if you have 300 billion, those $299 billion do absolutely nothing except take it away and hoard it from the people who have nothing. So, Democrats don't really like me a whole lot for saying these things. They're gonna like me even less because once I get to the House of Representatives, I'm not gonna do what they want me to do. What they tell every first term congressperson is to sit down in their office for 70 to 80% of their time. This is not something I made up, this is well documented, and call rich people and beg them for money for your re-election. This is from day one. Don't do it. This is not what I'm gonna do because I have one secret. I am not yearning to be a politician. I don't want power. I'm an introvert who lives in a forest up in Hendricks Park. This is not my thing, but I will go there and do it if it needs to be done, right? So no, I won't do it, and I know they will throw whatever they can at me to get me out of office, and they can throw enough money against me that I will lose my 2028 bid, and you know what? I'm fine with it. That's okay. Give me 2 years. Give me 2 years to fix things. Because if things aren't fixed in 2 years, or aren't on the way to getting fixed, we're all screwed anyway. And there is one more bombshell that is coming right at the end of this, and I swear I won't bore you for too much longer. I just want to bring out some of my main platform points here. You could find out a lot more about our website at BO2026.org. Has our complete platform on it. As it stands right now, it's a living document, and I work with a lot of people that advise me on this. I am so amazed, by the way, to go back to the introductions about Dolphin and 5051. When like I said, I'm the kind of guy that like looks at stuff like needs fixing, I'll fix it. So I organized a protest and I had like 1,500 people come out. And yeah, they came to me and they're like, who are you that you get 1,500 people to just show up? And I said, I'd love to work with you. And I imagined, this is not supposed to be ageist, but I imagined a bunch of people with gray hair or whatnot be there. And I walk into a room, and these are some of the most organized people I've ever seen. They have their stuff together like you can't imagine. And guess what? Most of them are a hell of a lot younger than me. And I love that. I love that passion. And that is actually one of the prime reasons why I'm here, because literally, officially, the spark came from a meeting with 5051 when the news was breaking that Val Hoyle had voted against impeaching Donald Trump. And I said under my breath, checking my phone, oh God, Val, don't make me run for office in my old age. And people were like, maybe you should. And I'm like, me? I'm just me. And they're like, no, maybe you should run. Everybody knows you. I'm like, well, if it has to be me, it's me. So that's me. Thank you, 5051. What a great organization. Also, today's 9/11, and that is always a day of commemoration in this country. A lot of innocent people, about 4,000 or so innocent people were killed here in the US. And by most estimates, a good 1 million plus people were killed in our response, most of whom were also innocent civilians. So that is always a somber moment for me. There's one thing I know that I am definitely not a conspiracy theorist, but what exactly happened and who exactly was responsible is one of those things. It's like JFK's assassination. It has been deemed by some people that the people do not need to know. And I am convinced that we will never know exactly what happens. So this is one moment. And of course, yesterday there was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And have no love for Charlie Kirk. Dude was a douchebag as far as I'm concerned. If the news had been Charlie Kirk had a stroke, I would have said, nah, couldn't have hit a nicer guy. But that was not the news, because what happened is that he got assassinated by somebody, and that is not okay. Because violence, political violence, is never, ever the end. There is one exception, and that is if it's in self-defense. If, oppressive forces are coming literally with guns at you, sure, defend yourself. I'm not like a complete pacifist. But assassinating people, it's the wrong thing to do. It only creates more hatred. It encourages more violence. So 50-51 is amazing with this, and I am 100% committed to political nonviolence. So as far as just a couple of the major platform points I think I've outlined, most of them tax the rich. This is all easily doable. So let's talk about something extremely exciting, and that's payroll taxes. I don't know if many of you know that you only pay payroll taxes on the first $70-some thousand of your income. If you make more than that, you don't have to pay into Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security anymore. Yeah, man, thank you, Eva, for that. That's a good question. So, anybody want to guess how long it took Jeff Bezos this year? How many months did it take Jeff Bezos until he stopped?
30 seconds.
Yeah, I believe it was 15 seconds. After midnight, he stopped paying payroll taxes because he had made more money than that. 15 seconds. But we pay into all of this. And now they have the audacity to sit there and tell us this is some entitlement that we're supposed to get. This is shit we paid into all of our lives, and they didn't pay into. So how about we kill the ceiling for that? How about we tax you on your whole $200 million income or so? Ooh, guess what? All of a sudden, a funding problem we're running out of money for Social Security. All solved. Who do you not hear say that? The Democrats, obviously the Republicans either. But that's one thing. Bernie says it, and I agree with him. Raise the income tax above, and this is a number that just kills me because it's so conservative. Income tax above $10 million to 50%. This is so lukewarm and so Republican, but I'm looking for realism about something that people could get through. This would make a huge difference. It's a joke in general. 50% is a tax rate that people like you and me are paying in Europe, not billionaires. But okay. And then we have a wealth tax. And a wealth tax is one of the most important things. So I came somewhat from a complicated political past, but I would say I have some libertarian views in me, some, not most of them are not, but some of them are. But at first, my dad had to pay wealth tax, and my dad was a wealthy man. And I thought, well, that's unfair. So here's an extremely lowball proposal, and then I'll tell you why it's fair. 3% to 5% or so on any liquid or quasi-liquid assets above $100 million. How can you argue with that? How many people have more than $100 million? And the people of my old the libertarians will tell you, no. If you tax away the wealth, it'll all be gone in 50 years. Okay, first of all, number one, I'm married to a scientist. That is not how math works at all. Okay. Number two, this money these people have makes them, on average, between 15 and 50% a year. Taking 3 to 5% away from that still lets them make a killing. Okay, it's not that hard. Okay, that's it for taxing the rich. I would like to raise the federal minimum wage to what we have here. That's not a big thing in Oregon, but trust me, a lot of the country, the minimum wage is $7.25, and a lot of employers are paying that. A big one though is Medicare or a single payer system for all. We need this. Our healthcare system is completely broken. I have spent the last 5 years battling cancer, and I can say that I am winning. I am in remission. My bill for 1 2-year period of this, which thankfully, and thanks to Karen's insurance, was mostly covered, was $1.5 million. Peace Health charges me $12,500 a night for room and board at Riverbend, and they still manage to lose money at that. So at that point, you go like, and this is why we shouldn't have like a government-run system, because private companies are so much more effective. They're charging me $12,500 for a bed and shitty food, and they still lose a ton of money. So yeah, no, we need a single-payer system. We need to outlaw private equity funds from owning real estate, rental real estate over 10 units. You know, if you have one house to rent, fine. If nobody should own 100 houses to rent out. Like so many people in Portland too. David knows about that. And couple of final points here. So I knew I'd get rid. There we go. In terms of governments, you know, there are things that are on a wish list that like, oh, I wish this would happen, like term limits for senators and for congressmen. Yeah, nobody's going to vote for that because they're voting against themselves on this, right? I would vote for it. I am very strong about term limits for the Supreme Court. They should be somewhat generous. I agree that you cannot like completely change tack all the time, but how about 15 years? Because the Republicans, who unfortunately tend to always be smarter about these things, figured out that, hey, how about we put a bunch of people in their early 50s or late 40s on the court, and they could be there for 40 years. And we are stuck with them now. We're stuck. If I'm in Congress next, you know, in 2028 and AOC is the president, we're still stuck with the Supreme Court as it is. You know, mandatory retirement age would be good. But one other thing I would like to see in government is protection for two things that are not explicitly protected. And one is protections for LGBTQ folks. And that needs to be protected because these people are under threat right now. And the other one is guaranteed protections for a woman's right to make choices about her own body. In foreign affairs, we've already stopped. I obviously want an immediate end to all non-humanitarian aid to Israel. It needs to stop. I do not want my name on those bombs that are dropping on those kids. We need to recognize the state of Palestine. This is not hard. And in our news here, doesn't always like give us the full picture. It's like, wow. So if somebody said, well, now that it might be 4 countries because, you know, France went to recognize them, Germany said they would recognize them, Canada said they would recognize them, and then I want to scream, it's 196 countries. There are only, I think, 8 countries who don't recognize the state of Palestine, and we are one of them, which isn't surprising because we're also one of the only countries not part of the International Criminal Court or the Paris Climate Accord or so many things that the entire world agrees on, but somehow the US knows better. Yeah. And okay, then we come to climate. It's tough in a time like this where there's such an immediate threat of our country having been taken over by a fascist regime to not focus on that. But globally, the number one issue is and will be for the foreseeable future climate change and what is happening. This is not a joke. We like to ignore it. We ignore it at our own peril. We've ignored it way too long, and it needs to be addressed really, really hard, and it needs to be addressed by the countries that caused the climate change, and that is the quote-unquote first world, not by the third world, who are the ones that are suffering more and more from it, but who didn't cause it because they weren't the ones polluting the atmosphere while we were since the English Revolution. So that means we need to completely refocus Trump's absurd shifting everything to back to fossil fuels, a completely dead fuel. It's actually now more expensive to use fossil fuel in energy generation than renewable energies, but Trump is still pushing it for it, even though it's more expensive, just because, you know, drill, baby, drill. So we need to go back to huge incentives for solar, wind, offshore coast developments, all this. Immigration is, of course, another giant step here in what's happening, and it's escalated to the point where now they just pick up people just for having brown skin or speaking Spanish, and then you can try explain it to them. And wow, no, this is the United States of America. You know, this shouldn't fly here, but somehow it is, and we need to stop it. We need to stop these illegal deportations across the board. We need to get law and order back on it. As David said, I stand for democratizing our green card lottery system, a system I've played. I didn't win, but I played it. It's a strange system. It's left over from the end of the Great Depression, and for some bizarre reason, nobody has ever addressed it. So for some reason, 40% or so of all green card lottery recipients have to be in Ireland because we wronged them at some point when this law was written, yet from somebody from Mexico has no chance. That's very strange. Yeah, and then of course we need to fix the one thing that caused all of this, which is our neglect of education. You don't educate people, you don't educate them to think critically. You don't educate them about the history of this country, which people were not. I was shocked. In 1986, I went to high school in the US, and I had gone to high school in Germany and France before. And I was shocked that my fellow classmates didn't know anything about the parts of US history that we learned about. For the genocide that we committed against the native people was never mentioned here in school. Well, it was mentioned very much where I grew up, and neither really the genocide of the Africans when we enslaved them for 400 years here was not really, it was glossed over, and we didn't gloss over this. So we need to teach our whole history, not to make people feel ashamed, but to make people, if you don't learn from it, you can't learn to prevent it. So we need real science-based education. Kick religion. You want to be religious, good for you. Kick it out of the classroom. It has no place there. It has no place in government. That's why I'm married to a scientist. You know, 4 years of community college for every person, every lawful resident in the US who qualifies. This is also not that hard. And it is one of the things that makes you get ahead in the society is to have a college degree and an education, but they make it very hard on purpose for you to get that, for anybody but the rich to get this, because they don't want you to be educated. These all sound like really lofty goals, but there are two great weapons in this, and that is, they can all be done. Okay, how can they be? This is too utopia. No, only two things need to happen. In 2026, we need to elect 50 more of me and 10 more Bernie Sanders. But Bo, where's all this money going to come from? Hey, let's say those 3 words again. Tax the rich. It'll pay for all of this and a lot more. And this is the stuff they don't want you to know about. Yeah, this is, that's pretty much it. But I told you a little bombshell, and here's the bombshell. And this is it. It's very sad news. I am not the only one running against Val Hoyle in this election, in this Democratic primary. Now there's somebody called Dr. Melissa Bird running against her in Corvallis, and yeah, she's my arch enemy. Yeah, as far as the Democratic Party of Oregon is very happy about this because they're like, well, that's mutually assured destruction right there. 2 actual progressives running against Val Hoyle. They're both going to split the vote. Yeah, there's something they don't know. Melissa and I are actually pretty good friends. And in fact, she was at our house for Sunday dinner just 2 weeks ago. So what they don't know is that, yes, we are all getting the people riled up. We're all getting the people out to vote. Don't get me wrong. I've never entered a fight I didn't intend on winning. It's the same thing, you know, and I'm not running to make a point against Hoyle or just pull her to the left. If that's the only side effect I can have, great, then that's a good side effect. But no, I'm running to win. Melissa is running to win. But we have the same cause, and before the dropout period, we are going to compare notes very amicably, and we're going to look at, do either of us have any real chance, or would either of us combined have a real chance? If it turns out that there's just no chance, we'll stay on the ballot so we can be in the voters' ballot and make our point. But I think that won't be the case. I think we do have a real chance. And if Melissa is ahead in polls and in fundraising, I will endorse her. And if I am ahead, she will endorse me. I can guarantee you one thing, I just ruined tomorrow for a lot of people in the Democratic Party of Lane County and of Oregon, because they had no idea that that was coming. So, no, Val, you're not running against one of us, you're running against both of us, but we are both one.